What's up everyone, and welcome to Video Game Book Club's review of Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars on the Super Nintendo. Now, you probably do notice that someone is missing, and yes, Daniel was unable to get here to film this, but fear not, he is in the video, so let's just go ahead and get into it.
Clay, put away your paper dolls, your sticker books, and your color swatches. Today we finally get to the real inside story and talk about our time with Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Legend of the Seven Stars was released early in 1996, making it the last SNES game by Square to make its way to America, and was preceded by some of my absolute favorite games of all time in the JRPG genre. At the time of release, and honestly still to this day, Mario was a god. Mario saved video gaming and continues to this day to push the platforming genre forward while remaining a great big bowl of comfort soup with a little mustache hair in it. And apparently no nipples. So why would Nintendo share their main squeeze with Square? Well, I don't know, and this isn't Video Game Book Club reads a Wikipedia page. This is Video Game Book Club does exactly what it sounds like and shares what Mario RPG meant to us past, present, and future. Cause like Frog Fuchsias, we too are all seeing.
Unlike Frog Fuchsias, we can't hold a tune, which is why I always have to veto the musical numbers that you try to add into the scripts.
Hey, Fergalicious slightly changed to be about Frog Fuchsias was an A+ ideal.
This was actually my second time through Mario RPG since we started our YouTube journey. The memories. Playing a great game, doing a club cast, you barely functioning as an adult and not making videos like you said you would. Good times indeed.
I'm a tadpole.
I believe you. Now, just like back then, Mario RPG is a great looking and great sounding title, especially when you take into account the fact that we are looking at a 3D game on the Super Nintendo. Going a much different route than those that came before it, such as the extremely low sub-basement of a sub-basement, low polygon count of Star Fox, and the digitized 3D of Donkey Kong that looks like someone wholeheartedly bought into Mortal Kombat's digitized fighters being the future, but then thought, hey, what's realer than real? Why, 3D digitized models in a 2D platformer, of course.
And while both of those games are great,
no, Star Fox can just go away.
There's something special about Mario RPG.
Mario RPG came after those, so it makes complete sense that it holds up the best and actually stands out from other games at that time. The 3D actually reminds me of clay figures, especially during the close-up of Peach in the very beginning. The whole thing looks like a claymation, and while I'm not going to pretend it hasn't aged at all, at least for us, it still has a very timeless look.
I guess Clay Fighters must be the best looking game then, right? Digitized clay fighters.
Yeah, I am glad you're back, Daniel. Really, just so glad that you're back and you're here and you're making videos again. It's fantastic. Welcome back. Character design and animations are top-notch. Sure, you have a lot of Mario mainstays like the Goombas and Koopas and most of Mario's friends that we're all used to seeing, but Square really killed it with some of the new additions to Mario's lore. Normal enemies, bosses, even two great new characters for Mario's party. The excellence in the visual design of everything in this game cannot be overstated.
And like you said, Clay, the animations are really something that brings the characters to life in a way that almost nothing else at the time did, at least not for me. Yeah, sure, a lot of your time is spent reading text boxes like any good JRPG, and hey, I love a good text box filled with strong narrative twists and turns, but the character animations in Mario RPG are what really catapults this game to the next level, especially when it comes to the era it was released in. Sure, Chrono Trigger has some expressive animations and tells an amazing story with them, but Mario RPG can and will go toe-to-toe any day of the week with Chrono. No matter if you're watching Mario pantomime a story beat, or Bowser crying tears of failure, the use of these animations to expertly convey physical comedy in an SNES game is unmatched as far as I'm aware. I looked forward to each and every time Mario would do his best to summon the soul of Charlie Chaplin to exaggerate and slapstick his way through the game's story, with a dash of Wile E. Coyote's ability to ignore the law of gravity until looking down. These moments were pure joy, each and every time. If more JRPGs were as expressive as Mario RPG, it might not have taken till the following year with Final Fantasy VII to bring the genre to the mainstream. Of course, there is the caveat that most RPGs didn't and still don't try to use humor, and the ones that do hardly ever succeed. With the exception of Earthbound, a game we reviewed forever ago, I can't think of another title that comes close on the SNES to the humor of Mario RPG. It's a hard thing to do in the best of circumstances, let alone through a translation of a game made overseas in a time when translations could be really bad.
Mario RPG's music is phenomenal. No big surprise, seeing as how Square consistently, for years, put out some of the greatest soundtracks of all time. I can only assume that Daniel's favorite composer, Nobuo Uematsu, was off banging out Final Fantasy soundtrack because music duty was left up to what turns out to be the incredibly talented Yoko Shimomura. The blending of Koji Kondo's Mario music and some of Yamatsu's Final Fantasy music is a solid hit out of the park for fans of either series. On top of that, the game has loads of more original music that is all extremely stellar. The battle music never gets old. The music for most of the stages is incredible, and just overall sound design is the best in show. Like when Mario falls from a high place, and the game plays a noise that I can only compare to a slide whistle, but much less annoying. I say most stages because there actually is one song that got under my skin just a bit. The music that plays in the Nimbus Land Castle would be great if it wasn't for the laugh that played throughout it. Before hearing this tune again, the Karo Sewers was my least favorite level, but that sound effect's constant laugh pushes the Nimbus Castle over the edge.
Clay, I am so glad we're on the same page so far. Mario RPG looks great, sounds great, and plays great. We haven't even touched on the isometric view, which I generally really like as a presentation style, until we get to its gameplay ramifications. Movement in isometric view can sometimes be a bit tricky. The isometric games I'm used to are more in the vein of tactical games and old school computer RPGs, and definitely not platformers. Mario RPG isn't really a platformer, but there's definitely some platforming areas, and with the isometric view it can quickly become an exercise in frustration. I managed to easily move past the very short platforming sections after a few failures, with the exception of one, and the one I gave up on was for an optional chest, but come on. Dialing in these jumps was probably the single frustration I had with the game.
Yeah, the platforming is not great. Most of it is easy to get through using the shadows of objects to line up, but the skewed view in a 3D game makes it much harder than it needs to be. Besides the harder than need be platforming, the isometric view brings a lot to the visual style, so it's easy to forgive a handful of slightly to mildly frustrating parts for such a great use of the perspective in the game. Also, I can't believe you didn't mention Poltergeist having the isometric view. It's only a quality video if we use every chance we have to mention games we've played for the channel before. You will, of course, be spending much more time interacting with Mario RPG's battle system than jumping, and that's a good thing, because Square really outdid themselves with this one. Like Chrono Trigger, you'll see your foes on screen, but once you run into them, you'll be whisked off into a dedicated battlefield. Instead of using the active time battle system first introduced in Final Fantasy IV and refined throughout Square's SNES era games, Mario RPG opts for a more traditional, at the time, and easier to digest system for non-RPG players, turn-based combat. What Mario RPG adds to this formula is more bullet points and a long list that makes it such a special game. Instead of using traditional menus like other console RPGs, Mario RPG settled on a simpler, more visually appealing design where each of the 4 face buttons on the Super Nintendo controller corresponds to a type of action. A is your normal attack, B is defend or run, X will open up a submenu containing your items, and Y opens each character-specific list of special moves that will deplete a shared pool of magic points called Flower Points, which would continue to be the MP branding for the first 2 Paper Mario games. You know, because we also covered Thousand Year Door, so go check that out.
Many of your actions in battle, whether they be attacking, special moves, or defending, can also be pumped up by certain button presses. Time a button press right and your regular attack gets souped up, or you'll defend taking less damage from your foes. Special moves can require different inputs like mashing a button or rotating a D-pad, or timing hits correctly to make Mario's jumps continue until you miss the correct timing window. Something I enjoyed a lot as you began to first collect new weapon types was figuring out when exactly a certain weapon's attack boost window was. Whether it's Bowser's Chain Chomp or Mario kicking a shell, this system helped me keep engaged in the battles, something I tend to zone out on a lot more in Final Fantasy games. Square brought a much more watered down version of this back in Final Fantasy VIII, but that was only 4 regular attacks of 1 character, and nowhere near as dynamic and engaging a system as we have here in Mario RPG.
There is a ton of repeatable minigames strung throughout the game, which are enjoyable and some even worth repeating if you enjoyed them. At this point, there's no way around it. We loved this game. The look and feel of Mario RPG are both out of this world, a true high point of the Super Nintendo, and some of Square's best work. We didn't even talk about the world map that plays out more like the map from Mario World than anything else we had seen from Square at the time. Every ounce of our experience with this game, jumping aside, drips with charm and shows a dedication to the material that we both really admire. Square could have easily taken a page out of the Hotel Mario book and made a cash grab, knowing that between their name and freaking Mario, this game would sell. But instead, we got one of the best Super Nintendo titles ever released.
I will say I have one more gripe that we almost forgot to mention. I hate inventory management, especially limited item slots. While Mario RPG doesn't seem to be quite on par with Earthbound's crazy tiny item list, more than once I found myself trashing powerful healing items because my inventory was full. Part of this is probably because the game is actually fairly easy, while boss battles can at times bring some challenge if you're underleveled. For the most part, Super Mario RPG is a breeze. Having to constantly manage my inventory because I received new items from battles before I even got close to needing to use anything I already had could be kind of a bummer, for me at least. But seeing where the story would go and the new characters you meet along the way was all worth it. Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars is about Mario collecting 7 stars. Boom, they're finally done. We can all go home. Thanks, guys.
Actually, there's more to it than that. Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars opens up with Mario once again storming the gates of Bowser's Castle to rescue Princess Peach, or Toadstool, whatever you want to call her. You'll fight Bowser and eventually be interrupted by a giant sword that has a face, because that's the kind of game we've got here, folks. Weapons with faces. Mario, of course, gets to start a whole new journey to rescue Princess Peach just moments after finishing the last one. You'll meet up with new friends Mallow, a tadpole, quote unquote, who isn't quite what he seems to think he is, and a fan favorite, Gino, an entity that is possessing the body of a young child's doll and wants you to help restore Star Road, which was destroyed when that giant sword with a face crashed into Bowser's castle. While both of these characters are great, and it's a shame we haven't seen much of either since their first appearance, we both actually preferred more traditional Mario characters as our party members.
Not only is Bowser the funniest character in the game, I freaking love having that big brute in my party. Lots of HP, tons of damage, without exploiting a character's special move. Gino. I do wish he had more chain chomp weapons, cause there is just some real quality laughs every time he whips that bad boy around his head and then hurls it at an enemy.
And I tended to lean more towards Princess Peach. You can do all the damage in the world, but only Princess Peach is right there with you with Group Hug to heal the party's HP and get rid of any status effects. Add on that she has a special that revives party members, and she is an integral member of the party.
Honestly, you're right, which is why as soon as I get Peach and Bowser, poor Gino and Mallow get left in the back. I really do think they did a great job with the two original characters. Good intro story for Geno. Mallow gets a big payoff near the end, but come on. It's Princess Peach and freaking Bowser. What am I supposed to do? Mario is a member of the Koopa Troopa after all. He's got to have his new boss in the party, ready to bust down a door at a moment's notice with that big old shell of his. You'll run into lots of creative characters like Frogfucius, Mallow's grandfather, that can give you hints of where to go next in your journey. Booster, a guy with a crazy beard that lives in a tower with Shy Guys, collects beetles and rides a train indoors, and is basically the Mario character I most relate to. And of course, a crazy cast of bosses that will keep you guessing what they could possibly come up with next.
This is where we are going to start talking in more detail about actual spoilers. So if you did not play through Super Mario RPG this month, this is your warning to go do it before continuing. We've gushed about the game enough for you to know that we love it, and at around 20 to 25 hours, we think you'll love it too. Now, if you played with us or you don't care about spoilers, then let's get into what really matters.
The Axum Rangers.
Hold on, yeah, I'm getting there. Mario and crew are on a journey to repair Star Road because without Star Road, the world you inhabit will be one without wishes, which is a big deal when you live in what I assume is a magical kingdom where wishes actually come true. We wanted to touch on some of our favorite moments in the game, but honestly, it's hard to narrow them down. Of course, there's Star Hill with the nod to Luigi, wishing he could be as good as his brother, and Mallow's reaction to when you find it. But there's also simpler moments, like hit a treasure block into being a star, which gives you a few frantic seconds to run into as many enemies as possible, gaining experience as you do it.
And of course, we both love Booster and Peach's wedding scene, where you can get a different kiss clip depending on how fast you gather items in the chapel. Even though I hate the music in the Nimbus Castle, the actual area and learning about Mallow's true origins, while not a surprise to anyone besides Mallow, is still a neat sequence that breaks up the pacing after earning so many stars in a row. And don't forget about that dummy Yoshi who can't even win a race without his good pal Mario feeding him cookies.
The real standout here is the bosses. Not just their battles, but their dialogue and stories leading up to their fights. Rosetown, where the population is being frozen by random arrows falling out of the sky, leading to a fight with a crazy style boss named Boyer that includes a neat mechanic as well. In front of Boyer during the fight, there are 3 buttons that correspond to your available actions. If the boss shoots one of those buttons, that set of actions is now locked down. Every boss and surprise mid-boss are all great encounters and story beats, and while yes, Daniel, you'll get your turn to talk about your favorite, I'm actually surprised that it's not Culex. Culex is the hardest boss in the game and looks, talks, fights, and even has battle music straight out of a Final Fantasy game. An incredible, satisfying fight made much easier if you've gotten the lazy shell armor, which basically, breaks the game.
Yeah, he's great. I kind of wish they had brought him into a Final Fantasy game as a nod to his Mario RPG appearance. But Clay, you and I both know the real stars of Smithy's gang, the Axum Rangers. Just look at those Power Ranger looking MFers. So good.
Come on, Daniel. You know they are based on the Sentai, the same thing that got turned into our Power Rangers.
You said I wasn't allowed to talk about that on our channel anymore because mature things will get us banned. It's why we can't do another episode of After Dark.
Don't be obtuse. You know I'm talking about Super Sentai.
There's Super Sentai? All these years spent looking at regular Sentai when I could have been watching Super Sentai. Super Sentai aside, the Axum Rangers are always the thing I look forward to the most in the game. It's not just their actual boss fight, where each member makes a lame excuse to their leader, the Red Ranger, when you defeat them, or when the Red Ranger jumps on the Megazord head to fire its laser beam at you. It's their actual introduction and the chase scene after that builds up to the boss fight. It's so good. Running through the last few screens of the volcano level, getting furtive glances of each member, it's just such a top-notch, memorable scene. A lot of JRPGs have bumbling henchmen who play the comic relief. Final Fantasy VIII has Biggs and Wedge. Wild Arms 2 had Ard and Liz. There's Salt and Pepper and Chrono Cross. I just so wish the Axum Rangers had been that for Mario RPG. More Axum Rangers is what those Paper Mario games needed, if you ask me.
So we traveled the world, got the 6th star after beating the Axum Rangers, and of course, who could have guessed the 7th star is in Bowser's Keep? Storm the castle, and if you have Bowser in your party, a lot of his former underlings will actually get scared and run from battle. That is, if you don't kill them first. At the top of Bowser's castle, you'll face off with that giant sword from the beginning of the game. This is actually the beginning of the end of the game, and when you defeat Exor, you'll get sucked into Smithy's dimension. You'll soon learn that Smithy's gang are actually weapons that Smithy created to take over your world. Smithy is in fact a smith, which is simplistic on the surface, but is actually a pretty neat story beat. Instead of Mario just crushing Goombas under his feet and cracking Koopa shells, he's been fighting against an extra-dimensional arms manufacturer. You'll journey through Smithy's realm until you come face to face with the big bad himself and what?
I've never beaten Super Mario RPG.
Are you kidding me?
Okay, so let me take you back to 1999. I'm playing Mario RPG on my SNES at home. I'm loving it. I get to Smithy, and for some reason, he's the first boss I'm having trouble with, man. I've got my Leezy shell armor on, and he's still trashing me. I lose my very first battle. I go back out to the menu, and my save is gone. Look, I know what you're all thinking. Bootleg must have hit the copy protection, but this was 99. That wasn't an issue like it is now. This was a legit cart. You have any idea how demoralizing it is to play an entire game and have the ending snap from your grasp in the final minutes? I loved this game then, and I love it now, but this part is painful.
Okay, then I think you've earned this, Daniel. Tell us about Smithy and how you finally got to see the credits.
There I was, Mario, Peach, and Bowser, face to face. Face to tank. Face to treasure box. Face to whatever Smithy hammers himself into at the moment. This crazed weapons manufacturer that wants to take away our ability to make wishes, like my wish, to beat Super Mario RPG for the first time, and Clay's lesser wish for this video to someday end. And I did it. Actually, it was pretty easy. I mean, by this time I had destroyed his gang, vanquished the optional bosses, and had the best equipment. So, of course the Mushroom Kingdom would be saved. Star Road repaired. Geno and Mallow returned to their respective homes. This shark guy we didn't mention because I thought that part hit a bit flat. Mario and Peach in all their 3D glory, flanked by Toad and Yoshi, thanking me for finally finishing the game. Bowser left with his troops, slowly repairing the castle, while a Shy Guy carjacks him. And finally, in true end of a Mario game fashion, we roll credits over a parade of characters from the game, led by everyone's favorite chest humper, Luigi. This game is pure, unadulterated joy. Few games make me as happy and warm inside as Mario RPG, and it pulls it off by doing so much right.
I am so glad we went back to the beginning of the Mario RPG lineage this month. I love Paper Mario, especially the early games. But the further they got away from the Legend of the 7 Stars, the further they felt from what makes this game so special. Of course, we both love this game, and we can't wait to hear your thoughts below in the comments. And what more is there to say? We absolutely loved Super Mario RPG, and really, for the start of the Mario RPG franchise, this is a classic game on a classic console. So let us know below in the comments if you've played it and what you thought of it, and how you rank it among some of the other RPGs on the Super Nintendo around that same time. And until next time, take care everyone. Well, thanks for sticking around to the end of this video. Here's 2 more videos just in case you enjoyed what you saw in this one, and if you really enjoyed it, feel free to like and subscribe, and also click that little bell icon just so you get updated every time we post a new video. And until next time, take care.